The events at Sibanye-Stillwater Driefontein mine certainly bringing the issue of mine safety to the fore. Khayelihle Khumalo has been working on some of those numbers for us. Khaya, it almost seems like it takes an incident of this nature for us to go back to those numbers and remind ourselves of what exactly they look like. In terms of the overall trends of mining safety, what have you been able to find out, especially in post-democratic South Africa?
Well, certainly, Kathy, at times it appears to be like a reactive approach as opposed to that proactive approach whereby the department itself, with the constitutional mandates that they have in making sure that the country's mines are safe for the employees as well. But more importantly, when you look at the figures, for example, when you go back into 1995, you had a staggering 550 number. So those are the fatalities. So that's a number of miners who died in 1995. But, when you fast forward that to 2006, there was a dramatic decline whereby you had about, for example, 199 fatalities. And obviously it's pointing towards a lot of awareness that was raised by, so many role players, the Chamber of Mines, and also the department itself. But more importantly, just the corporations themselves. And of course, given the fact that there is an act that is guiding them in terms of the health.
Let's talk about the moments in those figures where we see the decline in numbers, and it was consistent up until the mid-2000s. Do we know what the variables that lead to that decrease are?
Well, Kathy, it's a number of factors that led to the trends that you have seen. It's how, for example, the mining companies took it upon themselves to review the processes they have, the mechanisms, their checks and balances, and making sure that whenever employees are going down into further deep down there, everything is well cemented. But, for example, the trends that you see, for example, is that the gold mines are prone to see a lot of fatalities as opposed to platinum mines. Obviously, it's because of the very fact that by the very nature of the mines, where the gold is extracted, they are very deeper in comparison to other mines. And also, just in terms of the conditions, there are so many factors. For example, when you look at the rock fall, that's contributing for a staggering 70%, and also issues whereby, accidents do happen due to transportation when the workers are going down, but also in terms of, the gases underneath, in terms of whether do they have, the proper, protective gear. So there are so many factors at play.
One of the things that we're hearing again from the unions that work with miners is that there needs to be, number one, greater technology used in order to create better safety for miners while they're underground, and independent research that is conducted, whether by the mining companies or the Department of Labor, so as to reduce the threat to human life.
Well, very much so, Kathy. And for some time, the mining companies and obviously the mining unions, for example, they've always been vocal about these issues. In 2003, for example, there was an agreement that was signed, at least to reduce the fatalities by 20%. But also, from the side of the department, there seems to be a challenge when it comes to the enforcement, given the fact that perhaps there might be undercapacitated, so they have to look at, for example, the inspectorate that is responsible for, the safety. Because, when you look at the trends, it's pointing out again, when you look from 1984 to 2005, about 11,000 miners died, and that's what the department is conceding itself.
All right, and certainly devastating news for Sibanye, as we heard from Aaron Bates earlier on, giving us the numbers of those miners. In 2017, 7 miners losing their lives at this particular mine. And of course, today we have Malungelo Boy that's out there. Khayelihle Khumalo just going through those numbers and perhaps giving some context and history to the situation we're facing.